It's another cutting board video. Only because I've been making these boards lately and I've been getting notes and phone calls from people about availability, and I really don't have them. I'm just making these from wood that I have in the shop already, just basically scrap wood. I've done runs of these in the past, and when I've done them in the past, I've spent the money to buy the lumber to make the boards, and you know, that's usually $300 or so in material just for the wood, and maybe I can get 10 boards or so out of that. So, you know, and it takes over a week of my time to get them all done, and it's a brutal week. For instance, this board has 39 pieces in it. Every one of those pieces of wood was milled. Thickness plane, perfect. Perfectly flat on both sides, so that everything will be perfect when it's done. It's one of the reasons why the boards don't fall apart. One of the things I wanted to discuss today was that issue, because somebody contacted me about his boards. He said, I get these boards, they all fall apart. You get what you pay for, man. You get what you pay for. The store-bought boards, generally, they're just mass-produced and they're not really designed to last a long time. These boards are designed and put together in a way, by me, to last you the rest of your life. You'll cut into this, you'll get a bunch of, you can resurface it and it'll look like new again. I've resurfaced plenty of these for people. One of the things I do is I'm doing these, I call this like a linear board, okay, because it's just long pieces. A lot of people are used to a more traditional end grain up board, right? I made this patchwork board, a couple of these recently. This is your end grain up. And yeah, it is correct. Anything works though, when you think about it. Any piece of wood can work. You can get a log out of your yard, slice it in half, make an end flat on it. It's a cutting board. You're just protecting the edge of your knife. They call this self-healing, some people, because it's the end grain up and your knife cuts into it, and theoretically the pores can kind of close afterwards. Yeah, no. But it's also the most porous, so you really have to saturate that and keep it sealed. And there's nothing wrong with this, it's just a lot more work. So, grain orientation, just so you understand real quick, this is your flat grain up, there's your end grain, and if you can see, I don't know if you can see it, hopefully this will focus for you, but there's your end grain, and there's the grain direction, and that would be vertical grain up, and that would be edge grain along the top. So that's what I put up, for the most part. On these boards, when there's so many different pieces to it, and there's a lot of little skinny pieces, if you have a few skinny pieces there where it's not 100% end grain up, it won't matter. The board's not going to warp. If you have the wider boards, and you have a board made out of a bunch of wide pieces glued together, and you see a lot of flat grain up, that board's going to warp every time. 100% of the time it's going to warp. Maybe if it's super thick. If you have a whole slab of wood, one big hunk, and that's your cutting board, and it's been milled, because I've made a few of those. I mill that thing, I let it sit, I mill it again, I let it sit, I mill it again. It's still super thick, it ain't going to move again. So you just have to know what you're doing. My boards cost more money for several different reasons, aside from how much time I have to put into it. I made one of these firstly like a week ago, and it took about a day and a half of my time to make one board. I had a bunch of details. I'll just go over this with you real quick. This is a finger well. A lot of people will do some sort of finger well on a board. It's kind of designed so when it's sitting on the counter, you can get your finger under it. It'll clear. But I also add this catch, this little extra catch here. And that's so your fingers catch on it, right? Put this little detent on the top here for your thumb. Oh boy, is that comfortable. You're not going to drop it, right? Even if your hands are wet. It's just a lot more comfortable to carry. It's designed for the professional, you know, chef, foodie person, somebody that cares about quality. That's what that's all about. People have asked me in the past to make a board where there's a drip rail all the way around. That's not my thing. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because it takes so much time for me to make this board already, combined with the fact that I just don't have a nice way to do that. I don't have a nice, easy way to do that. I've got to do it by hand with a router, and if I screw that up, I don't even want to go there. So that's not going to happen. But what professional chefs have done forever, before people started putting a drip rail in, is they just put a kitchen towel down on their counter, on their surface, then you place the board down, and that will catch any drippings. So do your cutting, put your board this side, wipe things up with a towel, toss it in the laundry. You're done. One of the other things is my boards come pre-seasoned, okay? Which means I'm saturating them with a food grade mineral oil right from the jump. Most of the boards you buy in the store are not pre-seasoned. They're not oil. If they are, it's a very little bit amount of oil. Little bit amount of oil. A little bit of oil. A little bit, just a little bit. After that, I put some Clafham's beeswax salad bowl finish on there. This probably isn't going to focus for you, but it's Clapham, C-L-A-P-H-A-M''S. Buy it on Amazon. The other thing, I touched on it earlier, each piece of the board is milled perfectly so it'll adhere, but I use Tight Bond 2 wood glue. I go through several of these a year. I don't even know how many, but I go through a lot of wood glue. Not just because of this, it's what I use. This stuff is stronger than the wood itself. So the stuff that you're buying at the store, the cutting boards, may not have that. Could be a much lesser, not as good of a product. Which is why some of your boards are falling apart. You're asking me. I'm getting all these questions about cutting boards. I'm like the cutting board guru now. Here's the thing. It's half the time your board falls apart, it's your fault. Because you're saturating that board in water. You're putting it in the sink, letting water run all over it, letting it sit in there, letting it sit on a wet countertop, putting it in the dishwasher. Those are all things you must stop doing with a wood cutting board. Okay? Stop doing it. Stop doing it. Easy way to care for it when it needs it is get one of those clear tubes that you put the detergent in with a little sponge attached to the end of it, run under some warm water, put that on there, wipe it off with a paper towel, you're done. You know, you're probably not going to need to oil and wax the board very often if it comes from me. When it's time to do it, then you do it. If you get the Clafham's, you put it on a regular basis, right? So no big deal. Put some on your fingers. This stuff is food safe, edible. Wipe it on the board, get it in all the pores, and let it sit, you know, until you're ready to use it again. And if it's still there, which it will be, there'll be a film on there. Then just buff it out with a paper towel or something, and you're golden. I coat the whole board before I send it to you. The board comes in a plastic bag, and it's kind of like the old days. If you bought military surplus firearms, they would be coated in cosmoline, and then you just have to clean that off, and that's what you have to do with mine. So that's it. Comes like that. The whole board will be saturated. This is great stuff. Yeah, see, put it through your hair. Good for the beard. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Clafham's beeswax salad bowl finish. Anyhow, I think that covers everything, including how wacky I am. It's that time of year. It's December 2020. Merry Christmas. Try to be good to one another. Alright? It's up to us, right? Don't let the what's going on with the talking heads out there screw with your mindset. Choose to be happy. And that's it. Have a good day. Bye for now. Thanks for watching.